It's a great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Samuel Holland. Dr. Holland is Dean of the Meadows School of the Arts at SMU. He's also the Meadows Chair and a professor of music. For over 20 years, he's provided strong leadership to Meadows as both a teacher and an administrator. His teaching has included piano pedagogy, studio piano, computers and keyboards, jazz piano, and piano master classes. He chairs the Committee on Ethics of the Texas Association of Music Schools. His articles have appeared in every major English language keyboard journal, and he has authored more than 70 acclaimed method and repertoire collections with major publishers. Dr. Holland has also been a pioneer in the application of computer and MIDI, is that how you pronounce it? MIDI, which is a musical instrument digital interface technology to performance and pedagogy. He serves as executive director of the Francis Clark Center for Keyboard Pedagogy, which presents the National Conference on Keyboard Pedagogy and publishes the Clavier Companion magazine. He's co-founder of an internationally recognized music school, the Center for Musical Minds. Dean Holland earned his Bachelor of Music cum laude from UT Austin, followed by a Master's of Music with the highest of honors at the University of Houston, and a PhD in music education with an emphasis in piano pedagogy at the University of Oklahoma. Under his leadership, the Meadows Division of Music was named #1 music program in the U.S. in the 2014 College Factual Rankings. He has been honored with the Texas Music Teachers Association Outstanding Collegiate Teaching Award and the Dean's Prize of Meadows School of the Arts. And last year, and I think this is a great honor, he was named Teacher of the Year by 22,000 members of the Music Teachers National Association. And this award is given annually to a music teacher who goes far beyond the call of duty to exemplify excellence in music teaching. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Holland.
Thank you so much, Serena. I'm not sure where you found all of that stuff about me. It's certainly a great honor and a privilege for me to get to speak to you folks here today. As Serena said, I come from a music background, and the field is where most of my research and my teaching and my publications and my practice are. Prior to SMU, I did most of the things a normal classical pianist does. I mean, that is practice and play recitals and enter competitions in graduate school, eventually hitting stride in a place and the discipline, but there are also some unusual twists along the way. Early in my career, I led a double life, teaching and playing Beethoven by day and playing in a hard rock band by night, all up and down the New Jersey shore, sometimes rolling in after daylight on Sunday morning, just in time to toil through 3 services at the organ of the Episcopal Church of Rocky Hill, New Jersey, in mortal fear that I would simply fall asleep at the organ, or worse yet, wake up in the middle of the offertory playing Pink Floyd. But there was a time in my life, if the boss had called, he played at American Airlines 2 nights ago, I would have been there without looking back. I'm just saying, because of those experiences, I have a broader perspective perhaps on music and the arts and human values than I would have if I had stayed in the practice room. And so when I came to SMU, I kept playing and teaching and doing the things I had been doing for years, and quite by surprise, woke up one day as director of the music program, and then a few years later, the ranking that Serena mentioned came out, which was an even bigger surprise. To me, I believe that's the only academic program at SMU to ever be ranked #1 in the country, although we're consistently in the top 25 along with theater and journalism, and we're aiming to place art history in the top 20 by 2020. So I'm just saying that as a background, that none of this turned out as expected, but it turned out okay. Anyway, and the same can happen for you. But if you're in the room today as the recipient of a scholarship, I assume that you were irresistibly drawn to the arts. Either you couldn't do anything else, or you loved your artistic practice so much that you chose to do it at the expense of other things. And for that, I truly congratulate you. I'm blown away at what I've read and heard from you today and about you. You inspire me. You give me hope. And I respect not only your talent and accomplishment, but your courage. I admire the hard work and the tenacity and the dedication to a non-material pursuit when the world conspires against you in its effort to crown the next American Idol. And I also so greatly admire the O'Donnells and the O'Donnell Foundation for its decades of leadership and substantial financial commitment to the Excellence in AP Arts Scholarship Program. Now, I'm sure every award winner in the room has had a conversation with an adult that goes something like this. Where are you going to school? And you say Harvard or Northwestern or whatever. Oh, what are you going to major in? And you say art or music. And they say, oh. Well, what are you going to do with that? And at that point, I suggest you have an elevator pitch ready to go. Or you might turn to poetry. In the middle of a very long poem called Asphodel, That Green Leaf Flower, the great American poet William Carlos Williams wrote these words: "It is difficult to get the news from poems, yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there." And we could read that again, substituting the term music or art. It is difficult to get the news from music, yet men die miserably every day for lack of what is found there. Or you could fill it in saying art. But I think, what is he telling us? In my view, he's telling us that the arts matter, that the arts make a difference. He's telling us that the arts are fundamental and essential, that they are not mere entertainment, not another consumable product in a throwaway society. He's telling us that the arts inform and uplift humanity, that the arts question, the arts challenge, the arts help us understand what it means to be human when words and intellect are insufficient. The arts change the world, and not through force, but by working gently in the hearts of individuals. And in my view, the arts help us mere mortals connect with the divine and participate in the act of creation alongside the master architect of all things. The greatest cellist, in my opinion, of all time, Pablo Casals, once said, "I'm a human being first, a musician second, and a cellist third." And all too often in school or under the pressure to get it right, in the heat of competition or in the race to get into the right college or get the right job, we get that order confused. And when we do that, we unwittingly move away from that glorious vision of art that William Carlos Williams celebrated. And so I challenge you to consider Casals' words and to envision what it would look like if you really put that into practice. Being a human first means what? Experiencing things that you can't do in a practice room or a studio or at a computer or in a library or those places alone. It means knowing joy, and it means knowing tears. It means knowing hope, and it means knowing despair. It means knowing love and the loss of love. That whole spectrum of human experience becomes the palette of what an artist has to say. And so being a musician, then, for Casals, let's say more broadly for us, being an artist means learning a canon. And that includes not only music, but literature and poetry and painting and dance and architecture. In short, the entire range of human expressions through art in a variety of cultures, and not just the limited repertoire of a single instrument or a single medium. And finally, being a cellist for Casals is what we might sort of generalize as being a master craftsman in a single discipline. That's where you spend the 10,000 hours or more, and there is no substitute for such mastery. But in this world, with that mastery without the two previous conditions is empty. And so I want to bring this home by asking you to consider that philosophy in relationship to a concept known as the edge effect. In the physical world, where two ecosystems meet, say a forest at the edge of the savanna, something amazing happens. It's called the edge effect. It's a transition zone, and this is the cool part. Because of the influence of the two ecosystems on one another, there you find the greatest diversity of life, as well as the greatest number of new life forms. The edge zone is where those of varied backgrounds come together in transition. It's a region of less structure, a region of greater diversity, and a region of unlimited possibility. The edge zone is a time and it's a place of transformation and movement. In it, life is at its most creative. And so what if you applied the concept of the edge zone to your work and your life in the arts, or your work and life in the arts with other fields as well? What would that do to your comfort zone, to your tendency to stay with people like yourselves? How would your life or your practice or your studio or your rehearsals or your performances, your exhibitions look different from how they look today if you were continually exploring the edge zones between the ecosystem of art and the ecosystem of community, a real community, a here and now community where your art touches real people and makes a difference in their life? Or the ecosystem of art and the ecosystem of business, perhaps the business of entrepreneurship where artists must find a way to monetize their practice, or the ecosystem of arts and the ecosystem of engineering, perhaps writing code to create new forms of art, or solving problems in some completely different field that haven't yet been created, or the ecosystem of art and the ecosystem of social justice. And I could go on and on with countless other edge zones, and that would be a much longer talk, or it might even be a book. But for now, I urge you to seek out your edge zone, mingle with other life forms, and run toward, not away from, diversity. And then watch out, because creativity might happen, relevance might happen, significance might happen, success measured by new standards might happen, and not one word of what I'm saying displaces excellence, which is what we gathered to celebrate in your lives tonight. But it does place excellence where it can make a difference in the world. And art does make a difference. And you, with all your artistic and academic abilities, are the ones to make that happen. And if you put all this into practice, you will know success, because your art is relevant, because your art adds value to community, and because it touches people. And you will finally be able to silence the obnoxious people for the question, what are you going to do with that? Thank you. Congratulations to all of you, and best wishes.